Hi, my name is Rebecca Beard and I own NicevilleTutoring. I am going to be chatting with one of our new college planning ladies, Alicia, and she is going to give a little bit of an intro about what college planning is and how it can benefit your child, and also at the end share a couple of things that we wish that every parent of a high schooler knows. So that being said, what is college planning, and I guess a little bit about you?
I have been in education pretty much my entire career. I've taught everybody from ESL to adults trying to get their GED, elementary, and the most time I spent was with high school kids doing college prep at collegiate high school. And because everybody was focused on going to a four-year university, I learned a lot about that process and getting people to the college that they pretty much wanted to go to, and made that process as streamlined, as easy as it could be for them.
So I taught high school for a few years too, so I've had plenty of like crazy stories with high schoolers, but do you have one in particular that sticks out? And I can share mine too.
As far as college planning, it would be actually push the enter button at the end of the application. And yes, we did have that happen. And
push the enter?
They had done everything except push the enter button, and then they wondered why they weren't hearing from anybody. And when they called, they said, we wondered why we could see it, but we couldn't process it. Now, it has a wonderful ending because that student did have to lay out for a little while, but while they did that, they actually got to do some volunteer work, and it made them even more special to that college, and I think they ended up getting a little bit more money because of what they had done.
Well, so it all worked out good, but they had a good life lesson from it.
Yes. And as did we all.
I have one. It was actually, I think, in my second year of teaching. It was with ninth graders, which is just a fun age group. And I had made a joke with the class. He's pretty much, I'm like, oh, if you don't know it, just put the word monkey. And it was everybody in the class knew that this was a joke, but one kid on every single question put the word monkey. And then I had to redo it. I didn't give him a 0, but he was really confused. But then everybody else clearly got the joke. I was like, okay, that was my good learning too. Not everybody's gonna get the joke. But no, they're a funny group. Okay, so that being said, what would college planning look like for a junior versus a senior?
For a senior, obviously they've got a lot less time to plan, and hopefully a senior has had some time to think about exactly what it is they want from a college. But we got to get on it because those applications are open and we need to get them in. And at this point, college applications are opening even earlier than they have been in the past. In some cases, time does matter. Some schools are still test optional, so that's a good thing to know. You don't have to wait until you have your very best test scores, but you also want to be concerned with bright futures and make sure that you're in line to get that. So there's just some ducks in a row that we need to get together for seniors. For juniors, it's much more about figuring out what it is that's important to you and what's important to the parent. And you have a little bit more time, so you are more flexible in being able to look around and really focusing on what the fit is, not just for what's a pretty campus or where my friends are going, but is this the campus, is this the school that is going to help me meet my goals? And for a junior, sometimes you're figuring out what your goals are, and it's okay if you don't know it. You've got plenty of time.
Yeah. Now, what is the trends that you see with college admissions and stuff? I know it more on like the test prep angle. Like, I know it's very competitive. I work with a lot of kids increasing their SAT and ACT scores, and that's like kind of more my lane, and I see some of the trends. But what are some of the trends that you're seeing, at least in the state of Florida?
We are seeing, first of all, if you want to get into most schools in Florida, you still need to have your test scores.
Yeah.
So the sooner you can have the best test scores you can, the better off you are. And one of the things we have always stressed is the earlier you can get your complete application in, including test scores if necessary, the earlier you can get it in, the best. That's just the best for the student. That's all you have control over. They're going to do what they're going to do. Have the best grades that you can without stressing over being weighted, because honestly, every college is going to weight your GPA their way. So,
I did not know that.
we all get wrapped around the axle about my child has this weighted score, or I have this, or I have that. But every college will take those scores and look at them in their own particular way. So all you can do is give the best you can and control always the parts of the application that you have control over, like the essay.
So what about, there's controversy between like kids that are dual enrolled and graduating with their AA versus kids taking AP classes. Without diving too much into that controversy, does the application process change for a kid who's graduating with an AA versus like a traditional kid?
I would say that the thing that any of those classes, you have to make sure they understand on the application is what you are bringing to that college. AP classes are great because colleges know that requires extra work plus the exam that you have to take. So yes, you're proving that you're college ready. If you have dual enrolled classes, yes, you're college ready, as long as those grades are as good as they can be. Obviously, you got to have a C if you're in dual enrollment to get college credit. Is an A or a B better? It is. It honestly is. And if you're not ready to do, that's fine. Just stay in your high school, take all of the upper level classes that you are competitive in, and again, manage that GPA so that you're producing the best result that you can produce at this time. They're not looking for a bunch of students to come in who have an AA. They would ideally like for students to be there for as long as possible.
That's an interesting way to think about it. It makes sense though. It's in a money sense, like they're getting more money for you being there all 4 years.
Yes.
That is fascinating.
Which is not to say dual enrollment is bad.
No, but it's just interesting that
dual enrollment is excellent because you're a known quantity.
Yeah, that's true, because you've proven experience in college classes. And then what is one thing that if you had, let's say, I know your kids are grown, but what is one thing that you would tell like your own child that's maybe a freshman or sophomore this year to do to set yourself a little bit apart?
If my child was a freshman or sophomore, and I actually told them this, particularly for freshmen, when you go to that high school night and all of the activities are there and the band's playing and you're excited and your child or you sign up for 9 or 10 different activities, and some of the activities you sign up because Rebecca grabbed you and said, come on and sign up with me, and you really have no interest in 3-dimensional chess, but you signed up for it because that's what your friend wanted you to do. What I would tell my 9th grader or my 10th grader is, you can certainly do those things, but pick out something that you like. It's very difficult for students that age to start understanding that it's okay to have their own individual likes and to pursue those likes, because in the end, that is what they're going to end up enjoying the most. That's what they're going to give the most time to. And that's part of their whole development as well. In a lot of cases, those things or those activities, those thought processes that they like, a lot of times those are the things they end up doing in a career that they can actually monetize. So the sooner you can start figuring that out and being comfortable with that, the better off you are.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so what are some things that you wish like every parent in this area knew about just like preparing for college, or any secrets that we should share?
It's not a linear path. It's not linear, and it's also, I don't know that it's, people like to say it's harder than it used to be. I don't know that it's harder. I think it's more complex. I think there's more moving parts to it. And those are the things that people fear getting dropped. But there are a lot of moving parts in there, and sometimes those parts are important and sometimes they aren't clear on an application that as they need to be. So there's that part. Sometimes people, students and parents, get really fixated on getting into one particular college. That's going to be the goal and the key to their student success. And it's just not. It's just not. And we would have colleges come out of the blue all the time. A student would go on a visit, not really like it, and then that ended up being their college. That was where they wanted to be. That was where they felt comfortable, and that was where they went and they shone and they graduated and they were off in their life. Suggest as strongly as possible that people keep a real open mind and just explore all of the possibilities and not get locked in on one or two particular things. This is your child's experience. This is not yours. If you've been to college, nothing personal, it was a while ago. things have changed. Even at your alma mater, if you haven't been to college, this is your child's experience, and let your child have that experience with, of course, your guidance. Don't break the bank. Just because they get into Harvard doesn't mean they have to go to Harvard.
Harvard's expensive. I know the actual cost, but I'm assuming it's very expensive.
And do not have to break the bank. There are a lot of really good schools out there. Don't be afraid of private schools like Stetson or things like that. They have foundations that will be very helpful financially.
And then do private schools, they have a little bit more money to offer scholarships, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And trust me, if you're wanted by a public school, you're going to be wanted by a private school, and they'll help you. Yes.
Yeah, and so I think it's just got to be the best fit. And now for like scholarships, when is like the best kind of time for, especially our seniors, to be thinking about general scholarships?
Okay. Now, if you're a junior or even a sophomore, there are buku scholarship sites you can go to. Some of them you have to sign into, make a password or whatever, and some of them may not work for you, or you're going, I don't want to do this, I don't want to pay for anything. It's some of them you have to pay for, some of them are free. If you're not a senior, you can certainly look, but most of them are all for seniors. So when you're in your senior year or as a rising senior, you can start to look at those and apply. And also, let me say this, if you are a senior, you need to tell everybody that you're looking for a scholarship, because that guy, dad's best friend, may work for a company that's giving out a scholarship. They're looking for people to hand it out to. And people go, I just want one to pay for everything. $1,000 won't do. $1,000 will buy a lot of ramen. Yeah. It'll buy a lot of books.
Look, we made it work. You just get creative.
You get everything you can for every penny. There's nothing wrong with that.
So that being said, we are here, and our goal is to be able to better support kids in every stage of life. That's what I love about college planning. I have spent time, especially last fall, with seniors in my office just crying because they're so stressed, and some juniors that wish that they better prepared more. So we're offering the service to be a better service to the community and help and love on these kids and encourage them, but also provide some respite for the parents that are just not sure where to start in this journey. And I'm at a different stage in life with my kids, and I can only imagine, and it sounds intimidating. We got into kindergarten, so we're doing good on my end.
All right.
But luckily, I don't have to worry about their GPA for a little while. Thank you for joining, and feel free to reach out to us to schedule a time to chat. We'd love to answer any questions, and hopefully see you guys soon.